The baby name that climbed the most in the British male name rankings in 2024 was none other than Yahya. Yes, you heard that correctly. Hundreds of babies born in the United Kingdom were named after the mastermind of the October 7th demonic savagery. Well, British human rights activist Emily Emanuel joins us now. Emily, what's going on in the UK?
Well, I don't think the issue is the fact that there's Muslims in the UK. The issue really is that there is an agenda to make Britain Muslim. And that's the issue. And not just that, there are radical ideas that are really like this baby naming of a terrible terrorist that killed thousands of Jews. I mean, these kind of ideas are being preached on the streets of London. They're being implemented into our young people's minds. And this is just not acceptable. The UK has a 1,000-year history of Christian, Judeo-Christian ethics and laws in the land. And now there are over 60 Sharia councils. There are 80 Sharia courts. I've seen videos, I haven't seen it myself with my eyes, but I've seen videos of men in the streets of Birmingham, in places that Sharia law have been implemented, telling women that they can't wear skirts that are shorter than a certain length, telling men and women to stop drinking when they've seen them drinking. They're trying to implement Sharia law. And that is scary. I don't think that is something that is going to be a good thing for the UK.
Well, let me read you a clip from an article from MSN about this. It said, there are 583 little Brits whose parents thought it a grand idea to name their newborn sons after one of the most evil men of our times. These infants are a living tribute to the mass murderer who offered his own people, the Arabs of Gaza, in mass sacrifice as a down payment on a caliphate. So obviously here in the United States, we're seeing this from afar, but there are some really prominent British people, British politicians, British commentators who are floating around words, and I'm not saying this, they're saying this, like civil war, immense amount of civil unrest in the UK. Things are going awry in your nation, to say the least. But what's going on with the church? It seems like the church is just asleep at the wheel.
Well, I think that is what's been happening. The church has been asleep, and there's been a remnant in the UK that has been stirring the wells of revival, but it's a very small number. Now, during this asleep time, Muslims have been buying churches that are 200, 300 years old churches and turning them into mosques. Why? Because they're empty and they need to be sold, because they're just sitting on plots of land. The people in the congregation are dying, and it's sad they are now being turned into mosques, because this is what we've seen happen when Islam came in and conquered places like Turkey, and they turned their churches into mosques. And that is very sad. And now I do believe that there is a awakening happening in the church in the UK because of that. People are starting to realize that if this is not a Muslim country, what is it then? It's a Christian country. So maybe we need to go to church. Maybe we need to understand what being a Christian country is like. Because when I was growing up, there really was a very small amount of Christians. And if you weren't Christian, you were atheist. And there's a big, it's a very post-Christian nation. So I think there is a lot of people who have conservative Christian values who aren't necessarily churchgoers or would profess themselves as religious, and they're finding themselves now wanting to go to church and really understanding what it means to have a Christian nation again. And I think that it's the job of the church. I mean, yes, the government, but as we can see, the government is not fulfilling what we actually need to happen in the UK. I mean, just in 2024, one of the first Muslims to swear on the Quran in Parliament happened recently. And that's crazy to me that that's happening. And I believe it's the role of the church now to do the job where the government has failed us. It's time for the church to start praying, interceding, going out on the streets, sharing the gospel, and seeing people come to faith in Jesus again and making the UK a Christian nation again.
Well, Emily, I appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you.